Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Assalamu alaikum. In the most holy name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful, the sender of all prophets, the revealer of all truth, and the creator of all things, it is an honor and a privilege to greet the mighty believers in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. I pray that Allah has blessed us all to be enjoying good health and good spirit this Friday afternoon. And if not, I pray to Allah that by the time we finish Salat al-Jumah that we will achieve nearness to those two realities before we finish. And based upon our study of history, which is best qualified to reward our research, our history says that when we come to Jumah prayer, if we came feeling good, we leave feeling better. And if we came already feeling better, we leave feeling our best. Somehow, some way, this great pocket of time on Friday that we carve out to pay homage and recognition to Allah, to thank Him for all that He has done for us in the past, and for the mercy that He's extended on us to guard us against the consequences that's coming in the future. We've always left this Friday's Jumah prayer sessions with a greater level of awareness and feeling better than what we were before we came. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that if a person bathes on Friday, cleanses himself thoroughly, combs his hair, uses perfume if available. Now keep in mind now, before we footnote. Now you know perfume, they didn't used to call it cologne back in the day now. We're not trying to get you to go next door and get no women's only perfume. But it means that he did something to make his or herself smell better. And then goes to the mosque taking care not to step over anyone in the congregation, offers the prescribed portion of the Friday prayer, and also listens silently to the imam's sermon. Then whatever sins he committed since the previous Friday will be forgiven. Thank you. That's sufficient. So in the coming to participate in Salat al-Jumah, it is always good, if you can, to not just go through the traditional wudu or ablution that we do for the regular daily prayers. But before Jumah, it is good for us to take a complete bath and to get ourselves refreshed, renewed, smelling good, ready to come to make Salat. When one comes to Jumah prayer, the first slot is reserved for that particular individual who arrives the earliest. And the ones that come to Jumah prayer the earliest have a higher reward for their participation in Jumah prayer than those who come later. So it is never right, as Muhammad is telling us, to after we take our bath and comb our hair and get ourselves smelling good, to step over anyone in the congregation, because they earn their rank on that Friday. At Jumah prayer, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be the king, the bulla, you can be imam, the sultan, emperor. It don't make no difference. When you come to Jumah prayer, everybody is in one with each other. And it is an even playing field. So whether you're rich or whether you're poor, whether you have a high position or not, it makes no difference. Whoever shows up first is the one that gets the highest ranking spot in Jumah prayer. So it is in that wise that we as Muslims, not just that reason, but that is one of the things that Allah provides us with in some of His hadith or sayings that should motivate us whenever we start to get a little fatigued, a little tired, or feel like that we don't want to go through whatever it takes to go through to get to Jumah prayer. We have to remember those things that have been taught about the power of the Jumah prayer. The Prophet said in another hadith that that one Jumah prayer is equal to 25 personal prayers. In another hadith, he said it is 27 times the power of an individual prayer. And then he broke down mathematically that if we did one rak'ah and it was two of us at Jumah prayer, it would be like X amount of so forth. Is that right? Of rak'ahs or prayers. Then he went on to say that if there was 10 or more gathered in Jumah prayer, that if all the skies and the seas put together were ink, and all of the men and angels and creatures were pens, and they were to try to write out the blessing that Allah gives when there are more than 10 in Jumah prayer, they will not be able to record the magnitude of the blessing for participation in such a Jumah prayer. Well, we looking pretty good today because there's more than 10 in the house today. These are the things that should give us that extra oomph to make it to Jumah prayer. However, we shouldn't need nothing as an extra oomph to come to say to Allah, thank you for life. We shouldn't need no extra from Allah to come to Jumah prayer and ask Allah to, or petition him for his spirit that we can go out and conquer the known world. But these extra added things are bonuses that should help us to have the fight, the drive, the willpower, focus, fortitude, the mental muscle to push through anything to come and say to Allah, thank you for all that you have done for me and are doing for me and that which you intend to do in the future. Today we wanted to take up a subject for our Salat al-Jumah prayer titled The 3 Degrees of Good and the 3 Degrees of Evil. In the Holy Quran, in Surah 16, verse 90 through 92, we will use these 3 particular ayats as the basis for our discussion today. Starting off, before we read the 90 and 91st verse, with the 92nd verse. And it reads, and be not like her who unravels her yarn, disintegrating it into pieces after she has spun it strongly. You ever remember when we were growing up talking to our mother or our father, and they would tell us that, you know, what sense does it make to take one step forward and then do something dumb and take what? 2 steps back. This ayat of the Holy Quran was a revelation that Muhammad received after the Muslims had been working together, building the bond of brotherhood and sisterhood by, number 1, praying together. A family that prays together what? That's not in the Bible or Holy Quran. That is an axiom that is found by means of observation. People have, for the annals of time, studied groups of people that pray together and have found that when people pray together, they stay together. In Islam, when we come to Jumah prayer, there's 2 sides to our prayer. One part of our prayer we say in silence. The other part we say out loud. The part we say in silence is designed to strengthen our union, one with Allah. But the part of the prayer we say out loud is designed to strengthen the bond of the brotherhood and sisterhood, one to another. So the goal of prayer in perfect form, Islam, is not just to unite man or woman with their Lord, but it is to unite man and woman with their Lord and to develop a camaraderie and a connection with those brothers and sisters that believe as they believe. Because at the end of the day, We have cousins, we have aunts, we have uncles, and we even have brothers, sisters, and mothers and fathers. But at the end of the day, the believing community should be closer to one another than they are with their own biological disbelieving family. Yeah, truth, blood is thicker than water. But even deeper than that, spirit is thicker than blood. So when Jesus was told that your mother and sister are outside waiting on you, he told them, no, my mother and sister are in the temple with me. And we are taught as Muslims that we obey those in authority among us and non-believers in authority over us, as long as it does not conflict with our what? So if mama, if daddy asks us to do something that is in contradiction to our religion, we choose to obey Allah and not mama and daddy. If there is a connection that is going to be made for me moving forward, I trust more my believing brother and sister than I do the biological one that came from the womb of my mother. So when the Muslims were one, praying together, they were strengthening their bond, tightening up the yarn. Then not only did they pray, but they went out in the field propagating the truth together. And whenever you in unity propagating the truth, everybody knows something that somebody else don't know on any given subject. So I might be an expert in how to eat to live, but I'm not real good at breaking down the Bible. I might be good at breaking down the Bible, but I'm not real good at dealing with the science and art of economics and politics. But while we are propagating together in unity, and I run across somebody as the eat to live master that wants to talk to me all about economics and politics, all I got to do is say, hold on one second. Brother Steve, come on over here. Deal with this man. He wants to deal with economics and politics. And then whenever he goes across to somebody and he's trying to deal with economics and politics, but that particular individual, they are heavily inclined to healthy living, then you say, you know what? Hold on, Sister Vivian, come on over here and talk to this brother and sister. Y'all with me? You may run into another person that has a mastery. Point is that because they prayed together, they started getting tighter. And when they propagated together and they ran across somebody that had some subject that they didn't know, they just went, looked through the ranks, found somebody, turned them over, and they stood there listening and watching and smiling. Watching their sister and their brother deal. And there's no joy in the heart of a Muslim greater than seeing a lost become found. A dead man's eyes come open. And if I'm standing there and I know I didn't have what I needed to crack open that rusty lock, I didn't have the medicine in me to cure that poison in that lock, but my brother did, then I stand there and I just smile and looking back and forth at the exchange, and I'm happy, and I can't wait to the end of the day, because I know that if they win that debate, win that argument, we might win a soul for Islam. So they became tight, the Muslims, because they didn't just pray, but they worked. In fact, prayer is meaningless if it does not lead to work. You hear a lot of people talk a lot about the hadith of the Prophet, but very few people talk about the sunnah. We love to quote hadith, but we don't like living sunnah. Hadith is the sayings of the Prophet, but the sunnah is the doings of the Prophet. See, the Muslim world doesn't have a problem with the Nation of Islam because we believe something different. The problem is that we are more into the doingness of Muhammad and less into the sayings of Muhammad. While most Muslims are more into the sayings of Muhammad, but ain't out doing nothing to resurrect the dead. So they prayed together and they worked together, making the bond tighter and tighter. Y'all with me? Naturally, whenever we are praying and working, And our work is the propagation of the faith. Our work is the making of a new convert into truth. Then the ruling powers that are benefiting from the ignorance of the people are going to be frustrated and upset. So when they see us being successful, not to mention we were carpenters, we were builders, we were making money. The oil or the perfume that we wore, the people smelled us on the way to Jumah and they wanted to know where they can get them some Egyptian musk. Huh? The people smelled us on the way to Jumah and they wanted to know what is that you wearing, and when you told them it was that Issey Miyake, they want to know how they could get some Miss Issey Miyake. So we made money off of the products that we were selling. So now we prayed together, getting tighter. Propagated together, getting tighter. Worked together in business, getting tighter. And because the enemy, the Koresh tribe, I'm talking about 1400 years ago, and of course today, right now too, the enemy didn't like that. So they began to go to war with the Muslims. But all praise is due to Allah. We had already been praying together, getting tight. Huh? Propagating together, getting tight. Huh? Farming together, getting tight. So when they came to fight against us, we fought together because we already were tight. But after the Muslims began to win the war, the fruits of warfare are called spoils. Meaning that when we win, we get whatever you own and we keep it. Well, as the people started to stack up more chips, more stuff, next thing you know, people start spending more time with their stuff than they did praying together. Spending more time with their things than they did with each other. So as time went on, the prophet received the revelation to go tell the soldiers, be not like her who unravels her yarn, disintegrating it into pieces after she has spun it strongly. See, we were all individual pieces before we met Islam. But it was the common thread of truth that bound us together in brotherhood and sisterhood. But whenever the believer gets distracted by the material things of this world, more than they are concerned with praying to Allah, propagating the truth, working together to make everybody successful, and fighting against their enemy as a solid wall, then they began to disintegrate and break into pieces. The other side of this revelation wasn't just because the bond between the brothers and the sisters started to get weak. But the other side of the tying of the yarn was, just as we said about Jumah prayer, the silent part was to build our connection, strengthen our bond with us and our Lord. Y'all with me? So if someone has yarn that they have spun, do you know that when you unravel yarn, it's easier than it is to sew it? But it's the same process though. You have to pull it and you have to undo every area that has been done. Well, what this meant on the spiritual level, not just brother to brother and sister to sister, but believer to their Lord, is that we cannot afford to participate in the doing of certain amounts of good and then on the flip side engage in doing certain amounts of wrong. The doing of good is like spinning the yarn strongly. But when we do evil, it's like the unspinning and the disintegration of the yarn. Does that make sense? So mama would tell us, look boy, don't you take no one step forward and then do something stupid and take 2 steps backward. No progress is going to ever be made by doing a good followed up by a couple of evils. Think about it for a second. Look at what mama's logic was. One step forward, two steps backwards. One step forward, two steps backwards. One step forward, two steps back. You see, I'm getting farther and farther behind, really making no progress. So Allah describes 3 degrees of good that will help us to spin the yarn tightly, and then 3 types of evil that will help us to unspin it. Y'all all right? In the 90th ayat of Surah 16, it says, surely Allah enjoins justice and the doing of good to others and the giving to the kindred. There it is. 3 goods. Justice, doing of good to others, right? And the giving to the kindred. And he forbids indecency and evil and rebellion, and he admonishes you that you may be mindful and fulfill the covenant of Allah when you have made a covenant, and break not the oaths after making them fast. And you have indeed made Allah your surety. Surely Allah knows what you do. The lowest form of the doing of good, according to this ayat of the Holy Quran, is the doing of justice. Or in Arabic it's called adal, which means that I return a good for a good, and I fulfill my duties and obligations to you. That's the basic level of being good. You do me right, I'm going to do you right. I married you, I'm going to take care of you. You my son, you my daughter, I will provide you with food, clothing, and shelter. That's duty, that's obligation, that's returning good for good. That's adal, that's justice. The second level of good is a little higher than that. See, that's the low level. The second level, according to this verse, is the doing of good to others. This is called ihsan, which means that I'm doing good to you, for you, but I am not investing. I'm doing good without seeking any return on my endeavor. You know that's hard to find in this world. Every Negro, everybody always keeping score. Is that the truth? In fact, you get a little leery when somebody do something good for you. Sometimes you tell them, no, that's okay. No, I'm serious. I'm good. No, I do not want, take it back. No, I do. Because you know in your mind that you've had some past experiences where someone did good for you, they came with excitement, you received it with excitement. 2 years later, they come and they want to borrow $50 from you, and now they want to. So you tell them you don't remember that time? When I spent my last 47 cents on that Twix, and I gave you one of the whole left Twix, and you telling me now that I can't get 50 from. See, so we remember. It's very rarely in this world do people do good without looking for a return on the investment. But the second level of doing good, ihsan, means that I'm doing good for you simply because you are who you are. I am thankful to Allah for all that He has done for me. However, Allah is possessor of power over all things, right? And He owns the heavens and the earth. So what can I do for Him, or what can I give Him that He don't already possess? I'm not giving charity because Allah needs my money, right? But if I see one of His creatures in need, then I can say, you know what? I can't give it to Allah. He don't need it, but his creature does. So I'm looking out without thinking about no return. That's ihsan. That's the second degree of good. The highest degree of good is called and the giving to the kindred. Now, of course, you know that couldn't mean to just giving to sons and daughters and brothers and sisters and people in your family. Nothing hard about doing that. But what it does mean is that whenever you can treat other people that you don't even know with the same kind of goodness and kindness that you treat your mother, your father, your son, your daughter, your brother, your sister. See that? It's when man begins to treat other people like they are the kindred. So this highest level of good is when man's nature is so inclined to good that he has not to make an effort in doing good. He does good to all people as ordinary men do good to their own kindred. So it's not even a thought. We don't have to wrestle with it. Huh? Because sometimes when it's time to do some good, we sitting there contemplating. Sometimes you see people in the charity. Y'all don't see it, but I'm seeing when I'm raising the charity. You see people sitting there with their hand in their pocket, gritting their teeth. They look, man, should I do this or should I not? I'm not for sure about this. See, no, whenever you on the highest level of doing good, you don't have to think, contemplate, grit your teeth. You don't do no math. You just do good because it's available to be done. It's an unconscious function. It is not second nature, it is nature. No, selfishness is second nature. Stinginess is second nature. Miserliness is second nature. Crookedness is second nature because our nature is Islam. But we were born into a world of sin. And we've been shaped by the iniquity, so the second nature dominates the first nature. That's how we, in the words of the Prophet from Allah, that's how we spin our yarn strongly. But we don't want to be found doing a good, too bad, one good, too bad. We're not going to make progress like that. If the aim and objective is for us to go from where we are to become one with Allah, we can't afford, we got a lot of ground to cover. So we don't want to be of those who unspin and disintegrate. Well, how do we unspin and disintegrate? Look at what it says. And he forbids indecency. That's one form of evil. Regular evil. And third degree of evil is rebellion. These are described in Islam. Indecency is called fasa, which is considered the merest form of indecency. This is whenever we engage in a wrong that may not violate the rights of others, but is not parallel with truth and right. See, to overeat doesn't wrong nobody else. Okay. You can eat 3 bean pies and 2 slices of cheesecake a day if you want to. But I'm not going to gain weight because of what you ate. Is that right? See, that's an indecency. That's greed. Huh? On your part. I don't suffer from it except that I got to live with you. You know, then I'm going to suffer from it. Y'all understand what I'm trying to say? What we watch, what we listen to, huh? When nobody else is around. See, they're not watching it with us for us to be corrupt in their mind. We all alone corrupt in our own mind. We don't have it blasting in the house. We got our earphones in. So this becomes an indecency or an evil that does not ill affect other people directly. It ill affects us directly, but of course it's going to ill affect everybody indirectly. Because what we put in is what we're going to get out. The next level of evil was considered basic evil, which is munkar, or wrongful conduct that violates the rights of individuals and nations. One low level, the basic level, is when we do a wrong that may violate the laws of God, but it didn't hurt other people. But the next level of evil munkar, it doesn't just violate the law of God, but now we're violating the rights of others when we do what we do. To steal violates Allah and the owner of the property. Is that right? To lie violates Allah and the mind that we told the lie to. Makes sense? And the last worst form of evil is bahi, which is considered to be acting tyrannical, oppressive, abusing power, or being rebellious inside of a group. So it's both sides of it. Think about that. Think about how hard we are on the rulers of the world for what they are doing wrong to hurt the people. Right? We say what? Why come we just can't have free health care? Well, I got to have a copay. All the money they've been taking out of my check all this time, I should be able to get free health care. Is that right? We see what this person does, that person does in authority, this law. And we always are quick to attack the oppressor. But there's another form of evil that we might be engaged in, even though we're not in a position of power. And that is being rebellious to the will of the God. So the tyrant that abuses power is evil, but so is the same level of evil given to the one that knows what they're supposed to be doing and continues to neglect their duty to Allah. So we can't be quick to condemn the tyrant while we are yet rebellious to what we know we're supposed to be doing. No, let's condemn the tyrant and the oppressor and fight like hell with everything we have against them. But then let's also go inside of self and see if we got a no good emperor or a George Bush, locked up a Willie Lynch or a John Hawkins posted up in our mind calling the shots. Maybe you may have a drunk uncle in there. I don't know. May have Pookie or Ray Ray in there. You got to call a meeting inside your own head and sit everybody down. All the Negroes, sit them down and say, look, see that? That's Allah in the chair. He the head of this head. From here on out, I ain't listening to none of y'all no more. No, Pookie, no, Ray Ray, you shut up and you listen to Allah. Get on out of my head, Willie Lynch. John Hawkins, you have no place here. And Pookie and Ray Ray, if you want to stay, you're going to have to follow the will of Allah from this day forward. Well, in that sense, brothers and sisters, we can be, by the doing of good on those three basic levels, we can be the kind of soldier that not only strengthens the bond between us and Allah, but we can also strengthen the bond between each other. It's very stressful to be in a relationship with somebody that's lying. Because a liar, you can't trust a liar. See, if you in a relationship and every time they say they're going to be there, they don't show up, it's kind of hard to stay connected to that kind of individual. If when they say they're going to do something, they don't do it, then you don't want to be tied to somebody that you can't rely on. You say, if my word is bond, I'm expecting what? Your word to be bond too. So by us engaging in doing those 3 degrees of good, practicing until we become the highest level, we will strengthen the bond between us and the comrades in the struggle, and we will strengthen our bond between us and the Lord of the worlds. We can do it, brothers and sisters. How did they do it before? We just found out. They did what? Prayed together. They propagated together. They farmed and they worked and they engaged in salesmanship, wholesale and retail together. And when the enemy came against them, they did what? They fought together. Well, we are fighting for Islam. It don't say, and I will surely win. No, because I will not win. The only way the win or the victory comes is when we will surely win. Right? And it can't just be just we connected together in a strong bond, tightly woven together, but we are fighting for Islam and we will surely win with our Savior Allah. The universal King. So it's the connection between the soldiers with each other and the soldiers with the supreme Allah that guarantees we will, in fact, surely win. Thank you for listening. I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Allahu Akbar. I believe, brothers and sisters, that if we were to follow the way of the Ummah whenever they were at their strongest point, that we will in fact be at our strongest point. And as Muhammad was able to do a work that has never been matched before on the Arabian Peninsula, that desert, we will be able to do a work that no one has ever seen before in this desert called America. As sand is nothing more than granulated stone, and that's what black people are. We have become granulated stone. We are small particles of a broke piece of rock that need to come back together. And if we pray together, if we propagate together, if we work together, and if we fight together, we will be the winners, living or dead. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.